The organization is the Ökoregion Kaindorf. It's a cooperation from 5 very small villages. Together we are only 6,000 people there. And the idea behind it is to get CO2 neutral by the year 2020. So we started in 2007. And this was our goal. It's open-end. So we try to get CO2 neutral and try to do something in this direction. It's a non-profit organization. We start with 100 volunteers. And the most important point that all the mayors from these villages are involved and they stand behind this non-profit organization and bring also money into this organization. So we were able to start in the year 2007 with 1 employee because we got money from the mayors. We start with a big event with a very famous climate scientist, Mr. Groundwork from Vienna. They gave us a presentation and told us that it will get really dangerous when we do nothing in the next years. And after this event, these 100 volunteers say, okay, we want to help you, we want to do something. And we start with 8 different working groups in different areas. So I take the one with agriculture, but we have all the others with to try to find solutions for electricity and to bring this knowledge into the kindergarten and into the ground school. So we try to find for every area different working groups. The inspiration came from my brother because he really read the IPCC report and he was very shocked about the scenarios in this report. And he said, if we do nothing, we could lose our Earth or our Lebensgrundlage.
Yeah, the base of life or the source of life. Yeah,
Yes, the base of, yeah. So, and when you are shocked, you know that you have to do something and you have to find solutions. The Humus project is really the biggest project. Since the start, we implemented 300 different projects in this region. And the Humus project is only one of it, but it's absolutely the biggest one. And the biggest problem was we have no idea how we can really increase carbon in the soil. And we start to bring all the knowledge from Europe to Kaindorf. We start with a so-called Humus symposia. So we found 30 experts. We bring them to Kaindorf and discuss it in one day. What are the possibilities to increase carbon in soils? And with these first ideas, we go to the farmers and we found 3 farmers who say, okay, we test it on 1 hectare of our farm. And these were our test fields. And the idea was to increase it on this field in a very short period of time. So the idea was in 5 years to get a very fertile, optimal soil with a high humus content. And we can show these test fields to other farmers to bring more farmers into this project. Yes. Now we have really great effects and great soils. We increase the carbon content or the humus content from 2 to 3% to 6, 7, 8% now. And these are completely different soils. And the most important point, we have no soil runoff anymore. This is one of the biggest problems in our area. We got more and more heavy rainfalls and most of the water goes down the street. So this is one point. The next point is it's much easier to tillage these soils. It's not necessary to go so many times in the soil to do something. We reduce the tillaging. So it's much easier to manage these soils and to have high yields on this soil. Mm-hmm. And when you have a period of very dry periods without any rainfall for months, it's no problem for these soils, because these soils store a lot of water and help during these dry periods. So it has a lot of benefits for the farmers. But the challenge is how to bring it from a low humus content to the high humus content. And this is still a challenge for most of the farmers. Yeah, in the first years, we saw that it's very expensive to increase carbon in soil, and most of our farmers do not have the money to take investments into soils. So we have to find a solution how we can bring back this money to the farmers. And so we take soil samples very exactly. We measure every single point with GPS, take 25 single samples from one field, mix it together, and we measure the carbon content in the soil. Mm-hmm. And after then, the farmer can start to increase carbon, and 5 years later, we take from the same point, exactly in the same way, the samples, and calculate how much carbon is increased in the soil. And for this additional carbon increasing, we calculate it back to carbon dioxide and pay to the farmers 30 euro per ton of CO2, of additionally fixed CO2. And this is exactly the money which the farmer needs to increase the carbon in soil. Because in the first time, a lot of farmers have to use compost. They have to buy this compost, or they have to change the tillaging machines, have to invest in this area, and so on. So they need money. Or for the seedlings, for the green manure, they need additional money. And the idea was, if carbon increasing is completely free for the farmers, everyone can do it. And only if everyone do it, it makes really sense for the climate. So we measure the carbon content very exactly in different times, and at the same time, the farmers have to write down what they do, what they change on these fields. So at the moment, we have a big database and know exactly which change brought which amount of carbon into soils. And in this way, we get better and better every year. Yeah, since 13 years, we measure it. So we have a lot of data in this area, yeah. The first was the Ökoregion Kaindorf, and the goal in this region is to become CO2 neutral. And if you want to become CO2 neutral, you can bring the CO2 emissions to zero. It's not possible. So you have to find solutions how you can fix CO2 from the atmosphere to any other places. And the idea was to fix the carbon which we cannot reduce, and we fix it into the soil. So the first is the Ökoregion Kaindorf with the idea. The second is to implement different projects to reduce CO2 emissions or to fix carbon. And the Humus project is one of these projects. Here we fix the carbon in the soils, and at the same time we make the soil more and more fertile. So it makes really sense for everyone who participates in this project. Yes, the Humus Academy was the third step, because we saw the most important point is to bring the newest knowledge to the farmers, because it's a completely new way of thinking for the farmers. They have to think to the soil, to the life in the soil. It's the most important point. They have to reduce the chemicals. They have to reduce the tillaging in the soil. So there are a lot of different points they have to bring together at the same time. And this is not possible without all the knowledge. So the Humus Academy is only, we try to bring this knowledge to the farm. Yeah, and we may do it in different steps. One step is a regular table every month in a restaurant where the farmers come together and bring their own ideas into this room and discuss it. And in these regular tables, we bring also every time one expert inside to bring the newest knowledge to the farmers and to evaluate the idea from the farmers. Next level is to make whole day seminars for the farmers to each topic. For instance, one day for newest green manure mixtures, or one day for tillaging, or for no tillage systems and so on. So for every topic, we make whole day seminars for the farmers with theory and practice. So we try to make it on different levels. And one very important point is every year we have a peak humus symposia. It's in January every year. And in these 2 days, we bring scientists and farmers together to discuss the newest knowledge in this area. I think this is very important because in past the scientists work only on their areas and the farmers on their own parts, and now we bring it together. And the farmers say, "Oh, it's great to get the newest knowledge from the scientists," and the scientists say, "Oh, it's great to get ideas from farmers." So it's for both groups a very impressive event. The certificate was the idea to bring the money back to the farmers. So we measure the carbon increasing back very exactly. We know how much money the farmer really needs to increase carbon. It's around 30 euro per ton of CO2. And the idea was, if we bring back this money to the farmers, everyone can start with carbon increasing in soil. And when we measure it, we pay the farmers 30 euro. And in this case, we generate the first humus certificate based on tons of CO2. And we sell it to companies who want to get CO2 neutral voluntarily. So this project has nothing to do with the official market, because when we start in the year 2009, the price for 1 ton of CO2 was around 1 euro per ton. And we paid to the farmer 30 euro per ton. So it was dramatically different. But we find a lot of companies who are willing to pay for this certificate because they see it's a positive effect. They see it's regional. And it's really fixed carbon dioxide, not only calculate who has reduced it or I don't believe in the conventional certificate trading system. So it only makes sense if you really fix carbon in whatever you want. So we fix it in soil. And, yeah, at the moment, I think really every country was in the Ökoregion Kaindorf and want to get the idea how we work and want to start with the same system. In last year, in the German-speaking countries, I think 7 or 8 systems start with the same idea. So it starts really everywhere. And we try to bring it to whole Europe because it makes sense for everyone. We have a lack of carbon in every part of Europe. Yes, we need more, but the problem is every time the money, and we would need only for this purpose one or two employees to bring it to Europe. So we only can do it step by step when we get money for this. I think there are a lot of different humus movements in whole Europe, and it's a great idea to bring it together. And we have we started 2 months ago with the idea to make a roof non-profit organization to bring all these ideas together and to make how can I say it? Guidelines for carbon increasing to make it safe, because it could happen that you can release this carbon from the soil when you change back to the old kind of tillaging, intensive use of chemistry and so on. So it's very important to make these guidelines for everyone who wants to jump into the system. At the moment, the biggest difficulty is to bring the scientists into this idea that it's really possible to increase carbon and it's really stable for a long period of time, because there are a lot of scientists who don't believe in these new systems. And a lot of these scientists are, I think I can say, old professors. So they are not so familiar with this new way of carbon increasing in soils. But they have to say a lot in the span of soil. And it's a new way, and the challenge is to bring these guys into this idea. Because if you have some scientists who talk every time against this project, it's very difficult to bring the mainstream in this direction. We work together with a lot of scientists, and it takes really, most of the time, it takes a lot of time to bring the idea to the scientists, because most of them are thinking in complete different ways. A lot of scientists do not have a vision or an idea that it's possible to change something. The most of them are only thinking in the old way and say, okay, we have proved something, and in the last centuries proved that carbon increasing is not possible, so it is not possible. And we have to bring them away from this thinking model and to explain that it's a completely new situation, because in the last decades we decreased carbon, and now it's possible to increase it back to a natural level. The easiest way is to make a project together, because every one of the scientists are looking for projects every time. And if you come to him and say, so we have here a little money, 100, 200,000 euro, and we want to check this problem. We want to check how stable is, for instance, the carbon from compost. If you bring it into soil, is it really stable, yes or no? And if you come with such projects to the scientists, everyone will be interested, because it's his goal, or for most of scientists, it's a goal to bring money into the universities to make scientific stuff. In the first time, it was very important to bring the majors into the project from the villages. and at the same time to bring companies into the project who are willing to buy the first certificates. So we found two companies in our region who say, oh, really a great idea. I will help you in the start of this project, and I will buy every certificate from you. And this helps a lot when you start with this project. Yeah, without money, you can do nothing. It's everywhere the same. So you need employees. At the moment, we have 6 employees in the Ökoregion Kaindorf to organize all these projects and to organize also the Humus project. One expert is only responsible for the administrative stuff for the Humus project. We make also projects which are founded by the authorities, or it's called Klarregion, Klima Anpassungsregion. There are some possibilities to bring money into the region to found the employees there. A difficult question. No, I think no. When we start, it was really hard because everyone was against this project. Everyone from the university, everyone from the farming schools, every farmer was against it. And from the authorities who are responsible for the water management, they were afraid that nitrate comes into the water when we increase carbon in soils. So we have a lot of discussions, and a lot of energy was necessary to work against these persons and these authorities. But at the moment, it's much easier to start with this project because most of this have seen that it makes really sense for everyone, for the environment, for the farmers, for the climate, for the companies. Everyone has benefits from this project. Not really. We have to do everything ourselves. A lot of discussions were necessary. Yeah. And we go to the court. Yeah, because in the first time we brought too much compost on this first field to increase the humus content in a very short period of time. And it was too much nitrogen for this 1 hectare at the same time. And everyone was afraid something can happen. But nothing happened. Only positive things happened there. And now it's completely different. The guys who are responsible for water management recognize it makes really sense to increase carbon in soils because we can prove now with our database that the more carbon you have in the soil, the more you can fix nitrogen. The nitrogen losses is only a problem if you have a loss of carbon in soil. I think you can do it in every region, yeah. Because if there are, in Germany, for instance, it's a little more complicated because the nitrogen legislation is much more strict than in Austria. So they have a really big problem with nitrate in the groundwater. And if you want to increase carbon in soil, you need additional nitrogen. Without nitrogen, carbon increasing is not possible. And this is the challenge, how to bring these points together. And I say with our knowledge, you can prove from the first year that nitrogen losses goes back when you start with carbon increasing. And use this knowledge and start it in every part of the world. It's really no problem. I think the most important point is money. If you have money, you can start every project everywhere immediately, because knowledge is here. It's not a question of knowledge anymore. It's only a question to bring the right persons to the farmers, to teach the farmers what they have to change to start increasing carbon in soil. And for these guys, you need money. That's all. We hope that at the end of the time, maybe we hope in 5 or 10 years, it will come from the government because when CO2 gets really a price, and we know that a price around 100 to 200 euro per ton is really necessary to change the whole system. If we get this price for the farmers for increasing carbon in soil, everyone will start with this project because it's additional money. And to fix carbon in soil, it's really a benefit for everyone. So the farmer should get money for this. We pay the farmer only for the additional fixed carbon, and when the farmer gets money, the farmer has to guarantee that this carbon is really stable in the soil for the next 5 years. And so 5 years later, we take the third soil sample, and if the carbon content is decreased, the farmer has to pay back. So it's a very safe system. What should happen? One point I haven't told in this interview, there are other possibilities to increase carbon in soil which are very stable. I talk about biochar. If you use biochar itself is very stable and helps additionally to increase additionally carbon much faster into the soil. It's we call it terra preta effect, which is known from Amazon, from Brazil. So the biochar is like a condensed stone in the soil with a big surface area, and on this surface area, the right microorganisms can work and increase additional carbon in the soil. So it works very well, but at the moment, this biochar is too expensive to use it in a big size in the farmers. But when the carbon dioxide price, the CO2 price increase, it's economically and it's really, really stable for hundreds of years. Yeah, there are different possibilities. They can call us, they can write an email, they can come to our events. So most of the countries have found our project and try to jump in. So everyone who is willing to jump in has the possibility to jump in. Thank you very much too. You're welcome, and everyone is welcome to our project.